Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are Velocities in Music, VIMTV. Today we're going to do a request from 2006 from an artist called Final Fantasy. His name's Owen Pallett. Yes. I'm not going to go into another Pokemon reference. This was a request by our good friend Ian, who's been on our show for At the Drive-In, and then a viewer, Tom, who requested this album. He shares your name.
Cool.
Tom is spelled T-H-O-M.
No, it isn't.
Yes, clearly.
No.
Final Fantasy, if I was going to compare this clearly is just very, very Sufjan Stevens, and it was right around the time Sufjan was getting really popular. So to me, that's the closest comparison.
And Andrew Bird.
Sure. You mentioned Dodos. I agree. And even a little bit of Yonzi's album. That, some elements of it. But it's very, this guy plays violin and sings, and he's very eccentric. And this album it's almost too nerdy for even me, and I'm a pretty big nerd. I've admitted that I like Pokemon on the show. He takes it to the next level, and that's saying something. But Tom, what'd you think?
Well, first I'll give you a little history. This album, Owen Pallett, actually I think it was shortly after this album, stopped going by under the moniker Final Fantasy so as not to be confused with the video game franchise, which is understandable. But this album actually won, I believe it was the first ever Polaris Music Prize for Canadian artists in 2006. It actually beat out New Pornographer's Twin Cinema, which was nominated, and Wolf Parade's Apology to Queen Mary, two fantastic albums. So this shows the kind of caliber of musicianship that's going on in this album. The fact that it's like one guy, and I mean, he doesn't play everything, but he plays a lot of it and sings. This album, though, it was very hard for me to wrap my head around. Because it is very overwhelming, it is very artsy. I was reading, just go to the Wikipedia page about this album and about Owen Pallett.
We got the link down there.
And it's very interesting. He modeled a bunch of these songs, I guess, purportedly about the different kinds of magic in Dungeons and Dragons, and lots of references to Zelda. And
Zelda's awesome.
Yeah, apparently he said that that some of these songs, that the album in general has to do kind of with how atheists handle death, the concept of death. Now, I didn't really pick up on that. Maybe I'd have to read the lyrics a little more closely. But really, it makes sense because I get a vibe when listening to this, like I'm Link from Zelda running around Hyrule, or like I imagine I'm or like I'm watching some theater, some big theater production or something. I mean, it's like that. It's kind of nerdy, it's artsy, but it's also very fun. There's good songwriting. Now, I think the thing that will turn people off to this the most is just how dramatic Owen Pallett can be. He sings like what he's singing. I mean, it's not dramatic in the way that like Frog Eyes is.
Right.
It's not like Carrie Mercer dramatic, but it's very like softly, like whimsically, I don't even know what else to say. It's just, it's strange. Yeah. And it's hard to wrap your head around at first. This really took me like 3 listens to even understand at all.
Well, I think that part of what you're describing is how introspective in movie that this is. I mean, I really feel like if you were to put this on at a party, you would get shot. And then after that, I mean, but what you need to realize is that it's such a personal listen. Like, you're going to have a personal appeal to this. This is actually one of my criticisms. I actually think you've listened to this one more than I have. I've gotten like 3 or 4 in, and I feel like I feel like by track 3 I'm into it, and I'm loving it. In fact, track 3 is one of my favorite tracks on the album. This beautiful piano part, and the songwriting on this album is exemplary throughout it. But I feel like he jumps into it really, really hardcore. Like track 2, he poos clouds. What an awesome album title! I mean, come on. but he starts, at times, it's very dynamic. There's lots of crescendos and decrescendos, and at one point he's screaming, "Maybe not!" And it's like, it's very emotive. Yeah. And it's almost, it's almost so fast on you that you haven't really connected with it yet, or at least maybe you would on, the more you listen to it, the more you'll remember what some of the emotional appeal is, so you'll connect faster. But I felt like those songs were just a little off-putting. I wasn't quite there yet.
And those kind of random outbursts is what made me think of Dodos.
Yes,
but the difference is that Dodos eased you into it.
Yeah.
Here, Owen Pallett's just kind of throwing you into the deep end and hoping that you can swim with his album, because
perfectly
He's
stated.
not going to make it easy for you.
He just said, that's exactly what I felt when I was listening to this. And I felt like, you know, it took me a second to catch my breath, my head went under, and I was choking on it, and then I'm treading water, and then I'm swimming. And then by the end of it, I love it. I'm having a good time, but like the first couple tracks, it's hard for me to get into it. And that's something that I like that because it's a rewarding listen. At the same time, that takes accessibility to a new level. Like you have to try to work at it to get into the album, and that's something that I'd say, you know, there's good things and bad things about it. But overall, I feel like, I mean, you gotta compliment the vocals. Even some of the lyrics are quite good. Yeah. The instrumentation and the violin parts, and in the piano and brass. I mean, there's some really eclectic aspects of the sound that I really found enjoyable. It is very Sufjan Stevens, but in a good way. So, I mean, if you like Sufjan, definitely check this guy out. And vice versa. I'm feeling an 80 on this. I think this is a strong album. I'm gonna come back to it. I do feel like I'll come back to it.
I'm gonna go 83.
Yeah. Cool. Well, and I want to know what you guys think, and I'm actually interested to hear what some of Owen Pallett's later work is. Yeah. You know,
he's done things since. He's worked with the Arcade Fire. He did strings for their albums.
For Neon Violet.
And actually, if you look it up, he's done string arrangements and guest performances for a lot of really good artists. Arcade Fire is the one that pops to mind, but look it up, and I think you'll be surprised. Him and Nico Muley, if that's how you pronounce it, Moline Muley, they're really on top of the game right there.
So I mean, this is getting an 8 out of 10 from us. But what do you guys think? Do you guys have you had experience or exposure to Final Fantasy or Owen Pallett? Have you heard of Poos Clouds? It's a cool album title. It's at least interesting for that. Thanks Ian and Tom for the request. But I want to know what fans think about this. So let us know at www.youtube.com/velocitiesofmusic. That's our YouTube channel, or our website, which you gotta go. It's awesome. www.velocitiesofmusic.com. It kicks ass. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we're BIMTV, moving music critique forward.